So Americans wake up to yet another terrorist attack in the United States. 50-some people dead, another 50 wounded, slaughtered while having a great time. Doesn't matter if they were homosexuals, doesn't matter if they're black, white, doesn't matter if they're male or female, they were Americans enjoying themselves, and they were gunned down by an Islamic savage. People moan and complain about how George Bush handled terrorism and being aggressive and going after animals like Saddam Hussein, who shot at coalition planes 3,600 times, who paid Palestinian families ransoms for killing Jews, for his sons who raped and pillaged and murdered people, killing 25,000 Kurds, using the Food for Oil program to rearm. Bill Clinton didn't do anything after the 93 World Trade Center bombing. He didn't do anything after the Khobar Towers attack. He didn't do anything after the attack at the African embassies. He didn't do anything after the Black Hawk Down Somalia incident where we were there to feed people. He didn't do anything when the coal was attacked outside of Yemen. He didn't do anything. 9/11 was supposed to happen in February, less than a month after George Bush was in office. He took the boot off the throat of a savage after the first Gulf War, Bill Clinton did, and it led to 9/11. George Bush put that boot back on the throat of the savage. Barack Obama's taken the boot off the throat of the savage. He's allowed attacks all over the place. He destabilized Libya. Was Muammar Gaddafi an ass? You bet. Was Bashar Assad a terrorist and an animal in Syria? Yep. But by destabilizing both of those countries, ISIS metastasized. By vacating Iraq against the wishes of his own Joint Chiefs of Staff, against the wishes of Leon Panetta, his own Secretary of Defense, he created a vacuum. And ISIS has metastasized and grown, and he's pet them and rubbed their back. He's gone and he's kissed Arab leaders' asses. He's allowed terrorism to thrive across the globe. 500,000 people have died in Libya, Yemen, Syria, Iraq at the hands of these savages. Vacating the Middle East didn't do anything but allow it to metastasize, and it's here. And they don't care if you're black or white. They don't care if you're gay or straight. They don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. They'll kill you. They'll kill your kids. They'll cut your head off. They'll burn this country to the ground. And what has Barack Obama done? He gives the Iranians nuclear weapons. He gives them $120 billion. They slaughtered our troops in Iraq by using copper tungsten penetration devices to get through our armor. They had special operations people there. They've sent their generals against the UN resolutions to Russia. They've launched missiles. And what do? We hand them nuclear weapons. You don't think that guy yesterday who killed 50 people would have killed 100? That he wouldn't have killed 10,000 or 10 million Americans if he had the device to do it? The Iranians have funded terrorism. They're the biggest terrorist country and purveyor of terrorism in the world. And what are we doing? Nothing. We make Netanyahu walk out of the back of the White House past the garbage, yet we send John Kerry to kiss these mullahs' asses over and over and over. Barack Obama won't even say that fundamental terrorism is the issue. Fundamental Islam is the issue. Are all Muslim people bad? Nope. But what do we need to do? We need to get those people to police themselves in the Middle East. You have to make it so miserable for the complicit that know that the savage next door is making bombs and killing people that they go and deal with them so that we don't have to. They have to be so scared of us. When they take a hostage, we kill everyone within 5 miles. You do that 2 or 3 times and guess what? The people in those areas will police their own. This stuff of sending 8 or 12 sorties a day doesn't work. In Bosnia, there are streets named after Bill Clinton because at least he had enough stones to go and defend people. But he went to defend Islamic people there when they were being slaughtered. George Bush did his job as the president. Bill Clinton didn't do his job as a president against Islamic savages in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and around the world. And what did it lead to? 9/11. And now, 10, 15 years later, after we've sent countless people to die, Barack Obama's retreated. He's canceled weapons systems. He's crapped on our allies. He's allowed the Russians to put surface-to-air missile systems in Syria. He's allowed the Chinese to build islands in the middle of shipping lanes. He's apologized. And now he's blaming guns? Guess what? If somebody had a Glock tucked in their belt, they would have dumped that guy. The second he pulled that weapon out, it would have been all over. This guy had gone through a full criminal background check. He was a security guard. Weapons aren't the problem. Whether he would have driven an F-150 through the front of the doors of that place with a bunch of explosives in the back, or whether he would have shot the place up is not the problem. The problem is savagery, and our boot is not on its throat, and it's going to continue to get worse. And certainly arming the Iranians as they thumb their nose at us, as they spray paint on the missiles that they launched last month, that Israel is going to cease to exist. Barack Obama, are you the president of the United States? Or are you an Islamic apologist that's the purveyor of that religion and allowing him to break the United States down? You've turned black against white in this country. You've turned rich against poor in this country. You've pointed your finger at the police. You've mocked the military in some cases. You've turned it into a social experiment. You've made vets wait in line. And your foreign policy is pathetic. It's a failure. Your domestic policy is pathetic. It's a failure. The lowest unemployment rate of all time. You're a jackass. The workforce participation rate is the worst it's been in 38 years. So you can pretend the unemployment rate is good. It's not. You divided people. You've destroyed the country from an economic perspective with debt. When that 0% goes up, the payment on that debt's going to be backbreaking. You think we're going to be able to afford the weapons we're going to need to fight the next war? When you're sympathetic to Islam asses out, you should be tried for treason. You should also be tried for sedition, for leaving the southern border of this country open. And Hillary Clinton, you've been complicit to this whole thing. When Syria was destabilized, you were there. When we left Iraq, you were there. When Libya was destabilized, you were there. When the phone rang at 3 a.m, from Benghazi, did you do anything? You went to sleep just like the president did. And then you both got up in the morning and lied. Your email server in your basement compromised national security, and you've lied in terms of what was on it, what you sent, what you knew. You're a liar, and you're a coward. And anyone that would vote for Barack Obama the second term or Hillary Clinton this time, you either hate your country, you're dog shit stupid, or you're a complete lemming. And there's no excuse for it. Don't blame the guns, President Obama, and the media today. Lester Holt, you jackass, complaining about weapons and firearms. That's not the problem. This guy went through all the background checks. You could take all the weapons from legal owners, and this still would have ended up happening. Do you think the guy gives a shit if his gun is legal or illegal? The world is filled with bad things, and the only things that stop it are people with weapons that are good guys. That's just the way it is. I wish it were different. It's not. But President Obama, you've been derelict of duty. You should resign. You're guilty of treason. You've been a pathetic president. And anyone that voted for this guy, this is the sort of thing that's a result of people being lemmings and living in fairy tale land. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. This is going to happen more. And I'm telling you, it's only going to get worse. This Iranian situation is going to lead to one of the worst events that the world has ever seen unless it's reversed. So you remember when you walk in the voting booth, and Donald Trump is certainly no perfect candidate, but who do you want there? They didn't even answer the phone at 3 o'clock from Benghazi. He got up and blamed somebody else as opposed to his own foreign policy. He's a coward. He's not a president of the United States. He is a citizen of the world. He had no business taking that office. He was never in the military. He was never in business. He didn't do jack shit. He's a loser, and he's made this country weaker and turned us against one another. And you better wake up, because the next hag that walks into that office, if it's Hillary Clinton, you're going to have 4 more years of the same. And what you woke up to this morning is going to be a grain of sand on the beach of what's going to happen in the next 10 or 15 years unless we get this under control. Wake up.